Hello, welcome to Philobites. In this video, we are going to talk about Rita, the cosmic order, Rina, the duties and obligations, and Yajña, the centrality of the institution of sacrifice. These three topics are included in the syllabus prescribed by UGC for the BA Philosophy major and comes under paper 1, that is Indian philosophy. These are also included in the NET syllabus for philosophy and is included in the unit 1 of the NET syllabus, which is coming under the head classical Indian philosophy. So let's begin. The Vedic concept of Rita. The term Rita occurs in the Rig Veda approximately 450 times. Rita applies to all creatures in the universe. It can be characterized as a type of force or power that is required for freedom, safety, security, truth, order, and law in the cosmos. The term Rita is said to have been derived from the root re, which means to proceed, move, rise, trend upwards, to go towards, meet with, fall upon, attain, get to, arouse, elevate, raise, etc. It is defined as proper, right, fit, suitable, competent, bold, honest, established or settled order, law, rule, sacred or pious conduct or habit, heavenly law and divine truth. Research on the word Rita has led to the general consensus that it means a law, the order and truth. Rita is the law and the maintenance of justice, the regularity of the motions of the sun, moon and stars, as well as the changes for day and night, the law-like uniformity that we find in nature, all is due to Rita. It represents the world order. Rita is viewed as the supreme God's will, the rule of morality and righteousness. Lesser gods are unable to transcend this will of the supreme Godhead. Rita's conception progresses from the physical to the heavenly to the cosmic. It is immanent in every creation and transcends creation too. The notion of Rita is the foundation of Vedic philosophy. The everlasting cosmic and moral order is represented by Rita. Rita signifies the universe's fundamental truth, harmony or system which no one can break. Rita is truth, that is Satyasya Satyam, the core of all centers, that is Kendrasya Kendram. This divine order, Rita, is referred to as Vrata in Vedic literature. Rita signifies nature's everlasting and unbreakable law in the physical realm. Rita governs the rotation of the heavenly stars, the change of day and night, the flow of rivers and seas, and so on. Rita is a cosmic order's unity in difference. It keeps everything in its proper place. Rig Veda enjoins that the followers of Rita will live happily for about 100 years along with other persons who are honest and virtuous. The Vedic Rita constitutes the bridge joining three streams of divine, spiritual and material knowledge to create unity. Three streams of knowledge also form another trinity of the Vedas. The Rita's principle is everlasting and omnipresent. It is present in all of cosmos's creations. And Rita is the universe's binding principle, whether physical or moral. Rita is righteousness in the moral sense. It is the yardstick by which morality is measured. Those who walk the Rita route walk the good path. They are known as Vratani. The Rita or Vrata route is in accordance with the natural cosmic order. The Rita route leads to a life of harmony, prosperity, and contentment. By following the Rita, the entire mankind on this earth can live as friends and even as spiritual brothers and sisters in harmony and unity. Vedic Rita is regarded as complete in itself. If a Rita appears to be in conflict with another Rita, then it is not regarded as Rita. What I'm trying to say here is the Ritas are absolute laws. They are not relative. They cannot be falsified. If they seem to be in conflict with one another, then they cannot be absolute laws. So that means that they cannot be regarded as Rita. So they are universal and absolute laws for all ages and for all people. Rita's polar opposite is Anrita. Anrita denotes total chaos and turmoil. Anrita's journey contradicts natural rules. It leads a person to sickness and untimely death. On the other hand, Rita leads to good action, which affirms the unity and sovereignty of cosmic and moral order. As a result, the humans are rewarded by gods. The life of passion or the Anrita path leads to disorderly behavior that undermines the unity and sovereignty of cosmic and moral order. As a result, God punishes living beings. Varuna, the god of sky and heavenly light, is the universe's guardian. Varuna was said to be the most powerful god who reigned over the worlds, and Varuna is supposed to be the custodian of Rita. Varuna is responsible for ensuring the dominance of cosmic and moral order. Varuna creates eternal laws to safeguard Rita, which no one can break. Varuna, the all-knowing god, has the sun and moon as his eyes. So he has the powerful, all-seeing, watchful sight. Even the smallest transgression will not escape his notice. Rita, the everlasting cosmic and moral order, is maintained by Varuna, and Varuna is aided by Mitra in maintaining this law, which is Rita. Varuna and Mitra are believed to be sons of Aditi, and they belong to the family of Adityas. In spite of all the multiplicity we see around us, we know that there is a deep unity that exists in the universe. From the movement of the planets in their orbits to the number of petals in the flowers we see in our garden, everything appears to be fixed and positively designed according to a universal and absolute law. Even modern physics have identified this uniformity, and they are trying to gut the grand unification theory which will explain this uniformity in nature. Accordingly, they have identified four natural forces which applies to all matter in creation. These four natural forces are the electromagnetic force, the gravitational force, the strong nuclear force, and the weak nuclear force. It doesn't matter whether we are trying to play basketball or we are trying to launch a rocket. These four fundamental natural forces applies to all matter. But they are not happy with their findings because multiplicity cannot explain creation. We need a non-dual concept or Advaita, a common source from which this multifarious creation emerged. So Rita is that from which everything can be explained, because Rita is not only applied to the physical world, the world of matter, or the Annamaya kosha in us. Everything exists in many dimensions according to the Vedic seers, and the most gross level is the level of matter, which is known as the Annamaya kosha. The next kosha, which is very subtle, is known as the Pranamaya kosha, which is the dimension of pranic or life forces. The next subtle kosha or sheath of existence is the Manomaya kosha, which is the mental, intellectual, emotional dimension. In other words, it constitutes our inner world. The Vijnanamaya kosha is the astral level, and it rules over the world of intuitions. And finally, we have the Anandamaya kosha, which is the level or the dimension of supreme spiritual bliss. The difference between the physical laws of physics and Rita is that Rita is the universal cosmic and moral law which applies to all these 5 dimensions of existence. That is why Rita is said to be the absolute law which not only rules over the material world but also the divine and spiritual worlds, the moral world, the psychological world, the ethical world, and everything conceivable. So let us now come back to the presentation. Rita is guarded by Vedic gods, Ritasya Gopa. Gods, on the other hand, are not superior to the cosmic and moral order. Rita has authority over the gods. Gods are friendly and helpful to those who pursue the path of Rita. When the path of Rita is not followed, gods become enraged. Rita is thus in charge of allocating rewards and punishment. Rita has metaphysical significance for gods and ethical significance for humans. The ancient seers had created metaphorical symbols and mythology to convey the message. Follow Rita and assist your Supreme Father as the formless and ineffable Brahman and the Supreme Mother as divine Prakriti. This timeless, inviolable cosmic moral order, Rita, progressively molds itself into the law of karma, which is a particular, most important feature of the Indian philosophy. Now let us understand the concept of Rina. The notion of Rina denotes duty and accountability. Man is a social being. His development is conceivable because many other fellow beings have contributed to his advancement in some way. So every individual owes something or the other to his fellow beings, animals, his ancestors, gods or divine beings, and even nature. Thus, we are all bound by duties and obligations to somebody else. This is Rina, that is our debts. An individual is born with 3 kinds of debts or rinas. Number 1 is the Rishi Rina, also known as the Acharya Rina or the Guru Rina, that is our debt to our teachers. Next is Pitra Rina, that is our debts to our ancestors. And finally, we have the Deva Rina, or our debts to the gods or the divine beings. Rishi Rina. Rishi Rina is sometimes referred to as Guru Rina, the initial stage of an individual's existence, that is Brahmacharya Ashrama, a student, is spent with the instructor. Sages and wise individuals were social guideposts in ancient times. The wisdom of the sages were passed down from generation to generation. The sages had a crucial influence on both individual growth and societal advancement. Rishi Rina can be released through learning Vedas and paying oblations, as well as demonstrating respect and gratitude to the preceptor. A person gets liberated from Rishi Rina through Brahmacharya Ashrama. Pitra Rina. Many things, including our own existence, are due to our forefathers. Thus, every individual is indebted to his Pitra or ancestors. It is the individual's job to sustain the family by giving birth to the following generation. A person becomes free of his ancestors' obligation by bearing offsprings, thereby continuing the family tree. In Grihast Ashrama, a person is liberated from this Pitra Rina. Deva Rina. This cosmos was created by Ishvara, God. God is the creator and sustainer of the cosmos. Whatever we obtain from nature is a result of God's blessings. Humans have no influence over the forces of nature. The Vedas tell us to make sacrifices to appease these divine powers. Sacrifices were used to demonstrate reverence for deities. Nature's forces are supernatural, enormous, and powerful agents. In such a world, man is at the mercy of God. Man is released from this divine debt or devarina by performing sacrifices. That is yajña, which we are going to talk about just in the after this. A person is liberated from devarina in grihastha and vanaprastha ashrama. The three rinas, the Guru Rina, the Pitra Rina, and the Deva Rina, are together known as the Rina Traya. Traya means three, that is the three debts. However, the Shatapatha Brahmana refers to a fourth kind of debt, which is known as Manushya Rina. It is an obligation towards humanity. By helping other human beings, an individual becomes free from debts to humanity. By repaying three rinas, an individual advances to the Anrunya level, which signifies liberation from all rinas. Only after achieving the Anrunya stage may a person prepare for the ultimate Purushartha, which is moksha. So it is very clear that the concept of Rina, that is the principle, the ethical and the metaphysical principle, that we should not stay indebted in whatever way, is very important in the ancient texts. And there are many stories which tell us, which try to teach us this principle. For example, even Lord Krishna kept no debts. When he was saving Draupadi by draping her with a miraculous never-ending sari, he was actually paying off his debt to Draupadi for tying his wounded finger with the border of a sari, and she had tied that sari around his finger, and this thus Krishna had felt that he was indebted to Draupadi. Again, we find during the exile period of the five Pandavas, there was a conversation going on between Yaksha and Yudhishthira. Among the many questions, one of the questions Yaksha asked Yudhishthira was, "Who is truly happy?" And to this, Yudhishthira had answered, "One who is not burdened by debts is truly happy." Now let us talk about the centrality and the significance of yajna or sacrifice in Vedic Hinduism. Vedic rituals, yajnas, were one of the most important socio-religious activities in Vedic India. Yajna and yaga are synonymous, and that is, it means worship. In the Vedic sense, yajna is a service of offerings placed in Agni, and Agni is the sacred fire. It is also known as Agnihotra, Homa, Havan in different languages. Now, the term yajna is derived from the word yaj, which means heavenly devotion. Typically, the devas are the object of such worship, that is, the gods. Yajnas are conducted to worship divinities, to help and assist people, or to commemorate major events and occasions. As a result, they are held to honor kings, teachers, elders, holy places, ancestors, venerable people, as well as to remember events like child's birth, marriage, housewarming, and so on. Yajnas have an ethical core. They provide us with the ability to transcend selfishness to help others. The Vedas teach that life should be lived as a sacrifice, with all actions and thoughts as offerings. The sacred texts of Hinduism are split into four layers: the Samhitas, which contain the Rig Veda, Yajurveda, Samaveda, and Atharva Veda; the Brahmanas, the Aranyakas, and the Upanishads. The first two layers are known as the Karma Kanda, and they emphasize on actions, while the latter two layers are known as the Jnana Kanda, or the portion which emphasizes knowledge. One might think that yajna or sacrifice belong exclusively to the karma kanda or the ritualistic portion of the Vedas, but this is not true, because the importance of yajna is seen in the entire corpus of the Vedas and the Upanishads. But we will see a shift in the attitude with which the yajna is to be performed. It is shifted from the external ritualistic traditions described in the Karma Kanda to the internalized spiritual aspects of Yajna, as darshan moved from the Samhitas towards the Vedanta in the Jnana Kanda. Yajna was seen from the start as a conduit between the human and the divine, as well as a method of liberation. Through such a relationship, humans can approach the divine and achieve the fundamental objective of human life, which is to worship the divine as the creator of all things. However, yajna practice was initially related to cyclical natural phenomena, most notably the seasons, known as the ritus, and the overall order of things perceived in nature. The position of humans within the larger scheme of things was carefully considered. As a result of actual observations, the notion of cosmic order or the divine order, Rita, arose, and gradually the concept of a yajna became a rite. The Vedic civilization bestows significant emphasis on the basis of yajna, with the primary purpose of fostering harmony. This harmony is largely concerned with nature and the activity of human beings in the environment. but it also alludes to harmony inside the human body. Deities, that is, the gods, were theoretically established as principles of existence, natural happenings, or psychosocial tendencies in people, and were important in establishing the harmony sought by mankind both outside as well as inside, without and within. The archetypal and phenomenal thought and action were united into a single reality, and self-aware self-determination was accomplished. And the purpose of Yajna was to gain the favor of gods in either the external, that is the physical, or the internal, that is the psychological worlds of the practitioners. The common goals of the yajnas were to get benefits such as healthy harvest, animals, good weather, offsprings, good health, enjoyment in whatever forms, and so forth. Yajna had specific characteristics that were unique to each Vedic era, in addition to the identical aims throughout the Vedic period. Sacrifice has been necessary since the beginning of time according to the Vedic scriptures. Prajapati Brahma, the major god in the early Vedas, was represented as the embodiment of sacrifice or yajna. The fourfold godhead of Indra, Agni, Soma and Surya progressively constituted the early Vedic pantheon. The Rig Veda has extensive hymns dedicated to these gods. Now, the five primary sorts of sacrifices during the early Vedic period are Brahma Yajna, Deva Yajna, Pitra Yajna, Manusha Yajna, and Bhuta Yajna as gifts to Brahman, the highest reality, Devas, ancestors, humans, and all living things. I'm sure you can connect now the concept of these yajnas or offerings to the different types of rinas or debts we we discussed just a while ago. So these are yajnas or sacrifices are also ways and means of clearing debts that we owe to the devas, ancestors, other humans and other living beings, and also the nature, that is the bhuta yajna, that is relating to nature. The yajnas could either be Shrauta or Grijya. Shrauta were the ceremony done by Vedic priests in accordance with Shruti, the sacred scripture of divine revelation, and were extremely elaborate with objectives that extended well beyond those of a householder. But the Grijya Yajna were the domestic sacrifices, and these rites were performed by the householder man, often assisted by his wife or patni. The ways of doing yajna vary according to the Vedas, depending on the objective of the sacrificer, the solitary beneficiary of the event. Because sacrifice might be an offering to Brahman, Devas, Pitras, Manushas or Bhuta, the aims of the sacrifice were supposed to be coherent with what they have control over. The Shrauta rite was a secret link between the sacrificer and the divine forces who may give the sacrificer his desires. Because the power of the sacrifice was considered temporary, the results of the yajna ceremony were expected to manifest after a certain amount of time. The yajna ritual evolved over time, resulting in the metamorphosis of the Vedic rite. Because of the changes to the Vedic process, the Hindu tradition evolved to keep the concept of yajna alive in different ways. The transition was caused mostly by the ritual's increasing internalization. Thus, Yajña evolved from an overt portrayal of considerable detailed elaboration to a basic point centered on the human being. The internalization of the sacrifice into the microscopic world of the human body becomes widespread throughout the classical era of Hinduism, which is ruled by the Jnana. The descending of the gods or the devas to become equivalent to the psychophysiological functions of the human body was a crucial development in the later Vedic periods. The Brihadaranyaka Upanishad testifies how macroscopic external rituals gradually were sublimated into the microscopic world of the human being himself. Not only the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, but also the Ishavasya, Chandogya, Katha, Kena, and Aitareya Upanishads emphasize the realization of Brahman as one with one's own Atman as essential to freedom. The Garbha Upanishad, one of the minor Upanishads, suggests the path from the outside to the inner yajna. According to it, the sacrifice can be performed by the sacrificer within one's own body, which contains all the necessary articles or items and functions for the yajna of the Shrauta ritual. As a result, the organ of speech or vak of the sacrificer came to be considered as Agni or fire and was merged inside the human body. The sacrificer's eyes, that is the chakshus, was the Aditya or sun. The vital power, prana, of the sacrificer was considered as Vayu or air. The sacrificer's thinking faculty, that is Manas, was Chandra or moon. And the self, also known as the essence of Hiranyagarbha, the golden egg, was characterized as being the heart of the performer or the sacrificer. The four Mahavakyas of the Upanishads, Tattvamasi, Aham Brahmasmi, Prajnanam Brahma, Ayamatma Brahma, describe the complete process of realization and completeness to be attained by an individual in this earthly sojourn. It is essentially a realization of Advaita, oneness, unity of the individual Atman, the microcosm, and the cosmic self Brahman, the macrocosm. It is here that the duality of subject and object is dissolved forever. In tandem with such lofty aspirations, the concept of yajna also became spiritualized. The sacrifice became the surrender of the individual limited ego or aham into the fire of jnana and vairagya, offering the vital breaths, intellect, emotions, et al. Into the pyre, as it were, so that the dross and the redundant burns off, and only the pure and eternal remains as the golden phoenix, if I may say so. And that was that. What remains was that, the Brahman, the Satchidananda. So that is all for now. I hope that I could give you a general idea about the concepts of Rita, Rina, and Yajna as discussed in the Vedas and the Upanishads. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.